Coffee. Not just a morning drink. Unveiling the surprising effects on your body. The unexpected effects of coffee on the body that defy common belief. Coffee has many, even enormous, health advantages, and have been shown to lower the risk of prostate cancer, shield the liver from cirrhosis, and enhance cognitive function in the elderly. Sadly, there is a major issue with coffee production nowadays. It comes in a variety of qualities, and every system change can drastically alter the caffeine content. This video explains if coffee is healthy for you, how much of it to drink, and whether it should be served with milk or not. Is it true that coffee decreases the absorption of iron in cases of iron shortage, gastritis reflux issues, depression, epilepsy, or schizophrenia, and is safe to consume if you have an eye disease like glaucoma? These inquiries concerning coffee are addressed in this video. Up until a few years ago, I believed everyone was in agreement that coffee was healthy. In fact, a film extolling its many advantages was created. Research demonstrating the advantages, but none of these findings explained the actual cause and effect relationship between coffee drinking and health. Rather, they were only associations. Advantages. The first advantage of coffee is its capacity to modify our blood vessel size, which in turn influences the caffeine can constrict blood vessels as soon as it enters the body, but this also happens when we exercise or become angry. One may believe that constriction of blood vessels is bad because it decreases blood flow to the organs, but in reality, it is necessary for our health because every organ in the body needs to be properly nourished. But this is really a transient impact, similar to how long-term activity causes blood vessels to tighten. In the long run, nevertheless, the practice of dilation and constriction of blood vessels is advantageous, much as caffeine has been associated with the management of hypertension. The primary cause of this is the presence of antioxidants called polyphenols in coffee. The primary one being chlorogenic acid, which thankfully allows us to combat free radicals and inflammation. But not all coffees are created equal, and certain harsh roasting techniques might result in the total absence of anti-inflammatory qualities. Fortunately, however, polyphenols are not changed throughout the decaffeination process of coffee. The lighter the roast, the higher the polyphenol content. The more coffee beans are roasted, the fewer antioxidants they contain. Decaffeinated coffee, therefore, is a great method to preserve its antioxidant properties. If you like to add milk to your coffee, this study indicates that even a teaspoon of coffee stained with 17 milliliters of milk reduces its antioxidant effect by 46%, and if you have a café latte with 100 milliliters of milk, the antioxidant effect is reduced by 95%. Almost completely eliminating any of the beneficial effects associated with coffee. That the polyphenols are bound by the proteins in milk, preventing the body from absorbing them, however, does not occur. Certain bacteria in the gut break down and digest soy proteins when soy milk is consumed, releasing the polyphenols. Another important feature of coffee is that it can lower iron absorption. In example, this study shows that drinking coffee with a meal can lower iron absorption by 39% after consuming a hamburger. However, this impact is absent if coffee is had an hour beforehand. Yet, the impact will still be there if you drink it even an hour later because it usually takes around 2 hours for the stomach to empty after eating, so if you have anemia or an iron deficiency for any reason, you should avoid caffeine-containing beverages and be cautious when drinking coffee. However, even though iron is a necessary mineral for the correct operation of some body processes, having too much of it can be dangerous because it frequently causes symptoms that are similar to those of a deficiency, so you run the risk of taking too much iron supplements when you should really cut back on it since ion accumulation has a pro-oxidant effect on the body, essentially rusting our bodies to the point where research indicates that elevated blood levels of ferritin are linked to a higher risk of type 2 diabetes. Research also confirms the detrimental effects of excess iron on health, connecting it to increased Alzheimer's issues and a decrease in DNA teller. In fact, reducing ion absorption with coffee lowers inflammatory attacks that are specifically linked to elevated uric acid levels in the joints in gout sufferers. Consequently, if you have gout and this is the situation for you, drinking coffee is definitely worthwhile to lower ion absorption, but coffee isn't the only plant-based product that has this effect. There are many others as well. Moving on, what about mortality? Is it true that coffee drinkers live longer? This systematic review of the literature suggests a link between increased life expectancy and coffee consumption, but the same study for those under the age of 55 reveals an inverse correlation, meaning that people who drink coffee are less likely to die. Those who consume excessive amounts of coffee may have shorter lives. Ultimately, in recent years, Finally, a study that examined all population types was carried out, and regrettably it revealed that this benefit in lowering mortality essentially can no longer be claimed to mean that coffee prolongs life or lowers the chance of dying. But let's get to the point. What is coffee's main drawback? The primary issue with coffee is that caffeine, the chemical found in coffee, is something that we all consume. Utilized more frequently in energy drinks to appeal to younger consumers as our body naturally creates adenosine to communicate that we are weary, caffeine suppresses and competes with this chemical, so it is at extremely low levels in the morning and progressively increases as we spend more time in the day. Caffeine is actually a neurostimulant that can have long-term health impacts and spend more time awake, signaling to us that we should relax or go to sleep when we drink coffee. Because adenosine is inhibited, the sympathetic nervous system becomes hyperactive, the heart rate increases, blood vessels constrict, and the brain activates. People have praised coffee and caffeine since the Industrial Revolution for helping people focus and work more effectively. The primary problem is that adenosine will increase in response to caffeine's blocking of your adenosine receptors. Build between neurons as a result of the body's capacity to adjust when adenosine stops having an impact on. The body gradually creates more adenosine receptors over time because they are covered by caffeine, which forces you to act on the day or moment when your body is depleted of caffeine. All of these free NOIN receptors operate on your body and produce the intended stimulating outcome. You will go through all of the withdrawal symptoms from caffeine, which headaches are among them, stomachache and, as many people report, feeling extremely drowsy and lethargic in the middle of the day. Caffeine is, in fact, linked to an increase in gastroesophageal reflux, although this impact is mitigated by drinking decaffeinated coffee, but some studies also show that drinking coffee raises the risk of incontinence in both men and women. Additionally, in other comprehensive research, like this 2014 meta-analysis, has demonstrated a direct correlation between caffeine consumption and insomnia. As such, individuals with glaucoma should abstain from caffeine completely, as its effects on the circulatory system may exacerbate their intraocular pressure issues. Insomnia, or the inability to fall asleep, and consumption are now well-acknowledged conditions, and this case report also showed that cutting out coffee and caffeine from a person's diet decreased the frequency of their epileptic seizures and epilepsy problems. However, if you consume too much caffeine, you run the risk of developing tachycardia, which is a condition where your heart beats too quickly because caffeine stimulates your nervous system and produces the hormone adrenaline. Nonetheless, if you're worried that you'll get atrial fibrillation or cardiac issues as a result of coffee, thankfully, this systematic review of the literature shows that there is no link between caffeine consumption and atrial fibrillation. In fact, depending on the circumstances, having 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day may even lower the risk of developing atrial fibrillation. However, excessive caffeine consumption can lead to serious problems, and it has been determined that the maximum lethal amount of caffeine that can cause this is 3 cups. That, in summary, may kill a teenager or young man might be about 12 cans of energy drinks. On the one hand, coffee does contain blood pressure-lowering polyphenols, decrease inflammation and stop oxidation, but it also includes caffeine, which can change how you feel, exhausted, constrict blood vessels, and be connected to a number of other issues including eye glaucoma, incontinence, and fracture risk, and several additional illnesses of the central nervous system. It is true that drinking coffee can help individuals stay safe. Afflicted with hepatic cirrhosis, coffee has also been demonstrated to benefit individuals with illnesses like Parkinson's disease, and for athletes, a cup can enhance their ability to lift weights. The main difference is that each person's metabolism of caffeine differs significantly, and some people are genetically predisposed to metabolizing caffeine more quickly than others, while some move more slowly, and this distinction makes it quite evident which coffee is healthy for you and which is not. This graph makes it evident that there is a relationship between coffee and caffeine consumption and the possibility or danger of acquiring hypertension. If you have a sluggish or slow caffeine metabolism, the risk of hypertension increases with the amount of coffee you drink. If you have a rapid metabolism, you will have a decreased risk of hypertension the more coffee you consume. On the other hand, a slow metabolizer will drink 1 cup of coffee for every one they do. 1 cup of coffee each day for a rapid metabolizer increases their chance of heart attack, reduces their chance of having a heart attack. However, for someone who metabolizes quickly, coffee does have many benefits if your body can quickly metabolize and eliminate caffeine. However, you should avoid consuming coffee with added milk or overly roasted coffee, as you would be consuming a dead substance devoid of nutrients. 1 cup of coffee a day reduces the risk of a heart attack. But if your body metabolizes caffeine poorly and it stays in your system for an extended period of time, it can lead to sleeplessness and cardiovascular issues, elevated blood pressure, and a higher chance of heart attack, even though it's typically advised against consuming 3 or 4 cups of coffee each day these days. We can now finally see from this video that not everyone can benefit from these rules. Since there are notable variations in both persons and coffee varieties, on the other hand, some people metabolize caffeine more slowly than others, which makes some coffee dangerous. However, some coffee varieties, particularly those that are swiftly and lightly roasted, are high in polyphenols. Long-term roasting does not even produce the anticipated anti-inflammatory effects, since all the polyphenols disappear. When soy milk is added, the anti-inflammatory effect persists, but the benefit is eliminated when milk is added. Since decaffeinated coffee eliminates caffeine, which has been shown to have little positive benefits on health, it is an excellent substitute. Nonetheless, if roasted according to the recommended method previously mentioned, the polyphenols for these explanations have made the decision to cut back on my coffee intake and see how my body responds. I also encourage you to assess your own caffeine metabolism. If you're addicted to coffee and find it difficult to go without or wake up in the morning, that's not a good sign. On the other hand, if your metabolism is good and you feel sleepy even when drinking coffee, as I do, then you may be in luck. As well as having unlimited alcohol consumption, please remark so that we may make our creations better. We would also appreciate it. Even only a like from you. But what matters most is that you remember to subscribe to the channel in order to see the upcoming videos.